Welcome back to another Assassin's Creed video, my friends. Today I've got a bunch of lesser known mechanics, hidden interactions and advanced tips for you. If you think you probably know Assassin's Creed Shadows pretty well at this point, but you'd like to become an absolute pro and know every single thing and potentially tackle the game on the hardest difficulty, then hopefully there'll be at least a few tips in here for you that you didn't already know that will help you improve your skills and become an absolute god at this game. So without further ado, let's jump into the first tip. Firstly, if you are trying to assassinate an enemy, hopefully you know exactly what it means already if it's coming up in yellow or red. Just a quick rundown, red means that they are going to shrug off your attempt to assassinate them entirely, you will do nothing and you will be forced into combat, and yellow means you will only take off a portion of their health states, weakening them but leaving them alive. However, that doesn't mean that you can't deal damage in other ways and significantly weaken them before you then head in and engage them in combat. So firstly, if the attempt is red and you cannot assassinate them, always remember there are certain masteries and skills that will allow you to entirely circumvent this and assassinate them anyway. But even if you're not that far in the game yet, remember that throwing a kunai at their head is still going to assassinate them. They will only shrug off melee attempts. So if you are speccing into improving the amount of health states that your kunai remove, then you can use this to assassinate them instead, hopefully one-shotting them. But if not, you are still going to significantly weaken them before you then are forced to engage them in combat. And talking of weakening enemies with kunai before you engage in combat, don't forget that you can loot kunai and all of your other tools off of corpses that you have used them on, effectively giving you an endless supply of free tools. But what's more, because hopefully you probably already knew that, is that if you unlock the corresponding mastery skill, you will even make it so that you can connect your kunai off of walls and other unbreakable objects if you miss your target, because they will no longer break. So if you are trying to assassinate someone and your aim maybe isn't the best and it whizzes past their head, remember the direction you just threw it and you can go and pick it up again, replenishing your stock for free. The next advanced tip for you is to heed the wanted system. Now this isn't in play for the first portion of the game, but you will know when it is. If you fail to disable alarm bells in red zones, obviously if you stay stealth they don't matter, but if you do go loud and you don't disable the alarms and an enemy gets there and triggers that alarm, you will become wanted. And when wanted, guardians will spawn and hunt you down. Now Yasuke can take them out pretty easily, and to be fair Naoe can as well, and sometimes it's really fun to do so. But there are other hidden debuffs for having the wanted system active, and it can just become a pain. So guardians and other enemies will hunt you down in that province for an entire season, and all enemies will automatically and instantly become hostile. However, there's a few fantastic ways to circumvent this. Firstly, it only applies to the character who set off the alarm, so switch to the other character to continue to stay hidden and just use them when you are in that one particular province. Or an even better thing to do is simply to open your map and spend a few scout charges to get rid of your wanted status. It really is that easy, and then you can just spend a couple of hundred mon to go and replenish your scouts. Job done. This tip is all about certain Kofuns that you might be bashing your head against thinking, how do I complete this? Please note that certain Kofuns are physically uncompletable until you have access to Yasuke around 12 to 20 hours in the game, depending on how much side content you decided to do, as he is the only one that can drag things like bookshelves out of the way, and he is the only one who can pick up and carry and effectively utilize explosive barrels. Bonus tip for you here, however, each Kofun is designed for one of the two characters. There is no way to change character when you are already inside, so you don't need to fear about starting a Kofun and then soft locking yourself. You will only be able to access it with the character that is intended to complete it. So at least you'll know before you enter whether you are using the right character or not. Very generous that they've done that, so that you don't go in, start fumbling around and realizing the reason you're stuck is because you're using the wrong character. So just know, if you have entered, if you are in, it is completable with the character you are using. It's as simple as that. It just sometimes requires a bit more brain power than you'd think. Some of them are a little bit brainy. Next up, I decided to put together a few more Kofun tips for you actually. So here's 2 more important tips when trying to tackle Kofuns. Firstly, light every candle. Some of the late game Kofuns are long, and some of them can get very confusing, require you to come back to the same chamber from multiple angles multiple times. So it's a very handy way of knowing which entrances you have and haven't already been to, because you can look down at another entrance and see, oh, I've already lit them candles, easy peasy. And also, tip number 2, do not accidentally bash into the candles on your way past. This is particularly annoying with Yasuke because he's so massive and he likes to charge into everything. Because you can and will knock them over, and you can and will completely break them, meaning they are gone forever, which not only makes it harder to see, but also you lose this trail of breadcrumbs you've been setting up for yourself. So do try and be very careful and methodical with Kofuns. Don't brute force them, you're going to make it take 10 times as long. For the next tip, my friends, make sure you regularly check both characters' equipment. And I'm talking spending their mastery points, having the correct gravings applied, upgrading your gear, the whole shebang. Make sure both of them are combat ready at all times, even if you heavily favour one character over the other, because there are more than a few missions where you're going to be forced to use both of them back to back to complete the mission. And if you are purely a stealth assassin player and you leave Yasuke with a bunch of level 1 equipment, you're going to have a very bad time, because all enemies will scale with both characters, because both characters level up in tandem no matter which one of them you are using. So do your best to shake off that preference bias and make sure that, especially on harder difficulties, you are practicing with both of them regularly and you are keeping their gear and their skills, etc. up to date. Tip number 7 is that if you didn't know, you can swim on your horse. You don't have to dismount. However, there are certain stipulations to this, such as if you are swimming a massive lake, your horse is likely to kick you off halfway through, because basically it will start to struggle to swim because they're not really designed to swim. Now, I don't know if this was a coincidence, but I think this happens on Yasuke sooner because he's bigger and heavier, so there's more strain on the horse, and there is a lot of realism in this game, such as we'll be talking about with weather effects and seasons later on, so I think this is genuinely a mechanic. And secondly, if you decide to steal someone else's horse for a quick getaway, that will refuse to get in the water with you, or at least it will kick you off imminently, because it doesn't trust you and you haven't built up that relationship with it. Another tiny little detail that I absolutely love. So yeah, if you're using your own horse, you'll be able to swim a lot further and you can cross most small rivers and lakes easily. But if you do try and swim a very, very large one, it will kick you off and swim back to shore about halfway across. Next up, I've got a couple of survival tips for you for prolonged engagements where you might be running low on resources and having a tough time. Do not forget that you can loot mid-fight. This is very, very important because lots of enemies will drop rations or replenishments to your tools and ammo and things like that. This will give you more options and more survivability when tackling longer engagements. So if you do have a plethora of corpses around you and you're now running low on healing and there's 2 guardians chasing you down, just loop them around for a bit as if you're playing Dead by Daylight. Go and loot all the corpses, replenish your stuff, heal up, and you should be able to take them out no problem. Next up is the importance of seasons in this game. Seasons will come and go, seasons will change just as they do in the real world. You have very little control over it, and sometimes they change at very inopportune times. And actually, they have many important gameplay features. Certain quests can only be completed in certain seasons, and at the end of each season, you will automatically and for free replenish all of your scouts and also be given a brand new batch of contracts. So you want to leverage these to your advantage. I've already told you that a season change will refresh scouts. It will also add new contracts and special hidden quests to the Kakurega. So try and make sure you've completed all your contracts before the season refresh so you can grab a fresh batch. But there is a bunch of other really important things that seasons do. Certain quests can literally only be completed during certain seasons. Certain NPCs will only show up in the winter or only show up in the spring, and there are other dramatic gameplay changes. Obviously, as I've said, a season change will refresh your scouts for free for you, you'll collect all your resources, but there will also be certain gameplay advantages, such as taller grass and shallower ponds to hide in during the summer, or snowstorms to muffle your steps in the winter. And your two different characters will perform better in certain seasons. Yasuke is much better in the winter because thick, heavy snow and certain weather effects won't slow him down. He's a big tank of a man and he can just run through it, doesn't bother him at all. However, Naoe's running speed will be dramatically reduced because she struggles to wade through the ponds and the thick snow. So you definitely want to pay attention to what the season is and play accordingly to your strengths. And finally, my friends, super quick and easy, but easily forgettable as well. Do not forget that refilling your rations from the boxes that you see around camps will also put you back on max health. So you don't need to waste your time running around camp trying to heal yourself up first before you then interact with this replen station. Just go and refill from these boxes. They'll put you on max rations, they'll put you on max health, job done. And with that, my friends, that's the end of this one. As always, make sure you're subscribed for loads more guides on all of your favourite games. And with that, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.